Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about my mini Dark Night of the Soul. I call it a mini because the Dark Night of the Soul can go on for months, years. Some people have described it before they came out of it. Mine lasted 12 hours, so nevertheless it was a Dark Night of the Soul. And I felt, I felt all the stuff that people describe in the Dark Night of the Soul. It reminded me of two previous times where I'd had a similar occurrence, but they lasted much longer. Well, especially the one which was the first time I had something like that was a good, I was 30 years old. It's 50 years ago. And my girlfriend left me. We had just started traveling in Europe, and we had a Volkswagen Combi, and she walked out of my life. And I can remember lying on the floor of that Combi for 2 weeks, just sobbing my heart out. It was the most traumatic thing that had ever happened to me. We eventually did come together, but that was what it was, quite a deep dark night where I felt like everything was hopeless, nothing was worthwhile. What was I going to do here? I was in Europe, all on my own. The second time was also about maybe 15 years ago when I took a teacher plant. It was San Pedro. And the actual experience wasn't nice. I didn't have a good experience. And afterwards, I was left totally devastated. Luckily, I was with a partner at the time, and it was my partner now still. And she just held me. But I became just a hopeless, helpless little boy. I felt like there was nothing worthwhile in my life. I was terrible. I was astonishingly unable to do anything. My emotions were all over the show. My thinking was disorganized, and I felt like shit, absolutely. And I couldn't function. There was no way I could function. It took me that took me a few days to really come back into myself again. And what happened this time was so damn insignificant. It was nothing, really was nothing. My partner said something to me, and I can't even remember what she said. I can't even remember a tone of voice, which I sometimes react to. She just said something, and that triggered off the most astonishing journey. Now, I've learned over time that I have dreams, and there are two kinds of dreams that I tend to have. Dreams that are totally nonsense and insignificant and don't even leave any impression upon me. But they are what I call teaching dreams. They are incredibly significant. I remember every detail of it, and I'm always left with a sense of oh, is that what I needed to know? That was the teaching. It's always very clear that it's a teaching, even though sometimes I have to work at it to try work out what it is. So in a kind of way, it almost feels like the Dark Night of the Soul, and every one of those experiences I have were a little bit dreamlike. I mean, yeah, I could experience it, but it had a sense of a dreamlike quality. And teaching often comes to me like that it wafts into my consciousness. Something comes along, but it always has a background of significance that I can't just let go. And I have to pay attention to what's happening. And this triggered off the most astonishing download of stuff. And I became again this feeling like, what's life worth? No purpose, no meaning. All I'm doing is making up stories and trying to have positive stories rather than negative stories. But hell, what's it all worth doing? I mean, what am I doing here? And well, I wasn't exactly suicidal. Nevertheless, there was that sense of total and absolute hopelessness, and all I wanted to do was lie down, go to sleep, which I did. I mean, I went to bed at 9 o'clock. I've never done that before. I stayed in bed when I woke up in the morning till maybe after 8, till maybe 9 o'clock. Can't remember ever doing that before. But that's the way I felt. Like all I needed to do was stay in bed. And what else? What else is there to do? All my motivation and inspiration was gone. And then slowly, when I got up out of bed and had my shower and started to do my little exercise movements that I often do in the morning, it suddenly dwelt upon me that the one thing that all this stuff hadn't taken away, that is always consistently present, that never goes anywhere, is awareness. The sense of awareness, the sense that I am aware. And I realized that that was still present. So while all this shit was going on and I was feeling terrible and all over the show, I was aware of what was happening. And awareness was always there. Doesn't make any difference what my experience was and what my feeling was. Awareness remained. And maybe I've pointed out before, awareness to me is what I call the eyes of the soul. Awareness never goes anywhere. It's totally non-judgmental. It just listens. And my awareness was still present. I could see what was happening in my thinking mind and my emotions. And that kept coming and going all over the show. Awareness was rock fast there. Absolutely non-judgmental. Present for me. Listening to what I was saying. But just present. And always there. It didn't make any difference. I could always go back to awareness. When I saw that, I was then suddenly aware that I was aware. And that I was aware of all the stuff that was passing in front of me. And so I could see these two scenarios almost, like I was aware of awareness, and then there was all this stuff happening, all this emotional stuff, thinking stuff, all going on and on and on and on, totally self-destructive. And I could see that I was being self-destructive. I could see thinking and emotions were all being self-destructive, and I was aware of it. So I was suddenly kind of almost split in two. There was awareness, I was aware. And then there was all this stuff that I called my dark night of the soul. So I was aware of the dark night of the soul, I was aware of awareness. And I suddenly realized that I could actually make a choice between staying with awareness, which seemed quite peaceful, and it is peaceful actually, and all this other stuff that was making all this noise. And I could see how my thinking mind kept dragging me away from awareness. Like, don't go to awareness. It's a dangerous place to go to. Thinking mind kept doing that and trying to stir up emotions. I could see this game being played by my thinking mind, trying to stir up emotions, trying to use imagination to take me away from the one thing that was solid and steady, just my awareness, present deep there in the center of who I am. And somewhere along the way, despite all the stuff that the contracted self was trying to do, what I call it the contracted self because it's very small-minded, all the stuff the contracted self was trying to do to take me away from awareness, to shut down awareness, don't go there, you're going to be trapped, thinking mind says. I could actually decide, you know what, I don't like your story. I'm just going to go back to awareness. And the moment I was very clear about that and stopped indulging in the thinking, emotional games that were there, that's quite juicy in a kind of way. But I'm not going in that direction. I'm just going to be present here for the one thing that is always there for me is awareness. Awareness has my back always. And the moment I stepped, as it were, back into awareness, and let go the hold of the thinking mind that had been playing this game for hours and hours. The moment I was back with awareness, then everything shifted. Then suddenly inner peace was there again. Inner peace that I recognize with awareness and what I call home. Home is that place that's always there. It never goes anywhere. It gets covered over by this thinking emotional stuff. But here I was back home. Such a relief to be back home again in the peace, this amazing piece of awareness. And then recognizing that, yeah, that's who I am. Have a good day.